again. Okay. I'm going to continue on. Hopefully you all find me. But we have, what I'm looking at now is we've aligned the hammers here where they're going to be. Now I need to look at this lower whipping and see, look, these tangs are, these arms here are not aligned with this here. And if I roll down the, see if we can see that here. Let me scoot this over just a tiny bit. So then if I, okay, just about got it in view. There we are. So this is not aligned. It's to the left of this part above it. I want to check that, confirm that. I'm going to roll down the knuckle, or this is the hammer shank. This yellow thing's the knuckle, okay? And look, I can see some of this whipping coming out of the left side, but it's underneath the right. We want to center that, okay? We want all these centered under their corresponding hammer shank. So to do that, I'm just going to loosen the screw. I know I tightened all these screws, but this is the faster way to do it if you just tighten them first and then only address the ones that need to be fixed. So I'm going to just loosen the screw, push it over to the right, and then retighten. And voila, I'll show you here now, those parts align. Okay, so I'm going to go through and check all of these. This one's a little bit to the left, tiny bit. So I'm going to be going through and aligning all of those, okay? So loosen, lean to the right, push to the right, retighten. Now, if it won't go, if I can't make the adjustment that far, then what I can do is I can take this part out and travel it over, okay? There's other things I can do. I mean, I can look at how everything else aligns on it. But I think if I move the whole thing over to the left in this case, that would be the right move. There are things I can do with this alignment. I can, let me show you. I'll just point them out to you, although I'm not taking these other steps, but these are things you could do to this part, okay? This is pinned together. That's a red cloth and there's a pin through it. And the pin is held by the centerpiece tightly, okay? It's held still. And then on the sides, it's able to pivot because this is free to a certain degree on these side posts, okay? Now I could, same thing here, there's a pin here. But you have kind of 3 points of alignment when this is hanging, okay? You have, this needs to align left and right with the hammer, like what we were looking at. And you also have this, which needs to align with the capstan on the key right here, right? It needs, I mean, that's kind of a big target, but it does need to be mostly over it and centered over it would be great. And then you also want this part. This is called the jack tender. Boy, let's see if we can get that in focus here. No, not so much, huh? Okay. Anyway, sorry for that headache I gave you. This is called the jack tender, and this is important because this is what gets tripped to let the jack out from under the knuckle so it doesn't keep pushing the hammer and block against the string. So anyway, you need this point, right, and this point all aligned. And sometimes what I'm trying to get at here, is that the pinning, these pins might be crooked. There we go, that's a little better. These pins that go through might be crooked a little bit. So it might make this arm shoot off to the right, or it might make the general, if this pin is crooked here, it might make the general alignment off to the left or right just a little bit when it's attached. So you need to make sure, if you're going to prop out, if I'm going to put paper on here, which is going to swing this left or right when it's fastened, I want to make sure that I'm okay to move all three of those points without running into clearance issues in those areas. In this case, I'm fine. So I'm going to put some paper under this right side, and it's going to shift this over to the right, which will allow this to align better with the knuckle. So why do I feel like that was so hard to explain? I don't know, but it's, so we put this paper here. Now when we fasten that on the rail, it's going to push that side out just a tad. So getting these parts in and out while these back checks are there can be a little tricky. In this case, I think if I put the screw in first, and I'm careful not to knock out the screw, then I can push that screw to the hole. I want to make sure it goes in the same thread, so try back threading. Although sometimes in a metal rail, like this is, where you're going into a metal rail, sometimes back threading doesn't work so well. And you need to just kind of feel that it's straight and then start turning. And if it turns with ease, then it's correct. Also on a metal rail, though, sometimes it won't turn perfectly easily, but it'll still be right. So you just keep turning a little bit. So it's kind of, a metal rail is a little bit different than a wood, the way it feels. But you don't want to strip it out, whether it's metal or wood, okay? There, now, after papering that, now that's centered underneath here. It was sticking out to the left before, right? But now it's perfectly centered. So that did the trick on that one, okay? All right, hey Jeffrey, thanks for joining again. Okay, let's see here. So now I'm just going to go and look across the section really quick. Sometimes I can roll things down like this to confirm that it's underneath that knuckle. And most of them I should just be able to loosen and retighten and get them where I want, okay? And most of these are off to my left. Just a little bit. Let me show you that, just in case you don't believe me. Look, you can see this right here. Okay, this right here. There's a little bit of black on the left side of that knuckle, and then here it underhangs. And you look here, and it's off to the left just a little bit, okay? So we're going to fix that. So those are the kinds of things I'm addressing. And I am pretty picky with this. The more uniformly it's aligned, it's going to lift better. It's going to operate better. You're going to have more efficiency in the action, okay? Line it. These are all off to the left, some quite severely. This one I want to travel. Now, why is this alignment so important? It's because as the piano gets played, you can get forces that can take it out of alignment over time, and you want that, if that it happens, that it's not going to create any serious problems with the clearance of the parts. Okay. This one I'm going to paper on the right side. I might tear off the bottom of this so it's not poking out. There we go, like so. Put the screw in, hold it in, front down first, back end down. Be careful not to drop the screw. Try and find that hole. It just takes a little bit of practice to feel it. All right, now that aligns. Hooray! This one's quite a bit off. I just want to show you again. Look, it's quite a bit off center. My point being that this kind of stuff is going to be in most pianos, and it doesn't mean it's a bad piano. They just require a little more attention if you want them just really supercharged and adjusted for your climate and after they get set up. You know, when this piano gets delivered, it will be in a different climate than where I am here. So the owner will need to make sure they have a competent technician to kind of look after things if things change a little bit. But this will still lay a great, it's still worth doing now, because a lot of these things will be just fine. Okay. I'm just going to go quick in all the ones that I can just push over and have it be good. I want to get them in place first. And if I need to paper any, I can do that. I don't normally have to put paper in these parts a lot, so but you know, this piano I do, that's okay. You know, making a piano and having everything work out right, boy, that's like a tall order. When you're working with natural materials and materials that behave in certain ways with different heat and cooling and all that. So for this one was off enough. I'm going to put two papers under the right side. You know, there's a better way, perhaps. Okay, I just noticed on this piano, that the rail here that the weapon's attached to, they allow for some side-to-side movement. And I see a big gap on the right, and I also notice, you know, for the most part, this one's a little different, but I also notice that all of these right now seem to be off to the left. So if I move this rail, I could potentially bump it over to the right ever so slightly and have everything align without having to paper. Okay. I'm glad I noticed this on the first section, but I need to be really careful that I don't move this rail front to back, because that will change the geometry of this action, which is no bueno. Okay? Just in case you're wondering. All right, so I'm going to put this back. And for those that I papered, that's fine. I can probably scoot them over to the other side if need be, just fine. Because they'll probably go to the other direction okay without forcing them. What do you know? They thought of this. I'm used to working on a piano where these rails are fixed and soldered together, and it's not an option to move the rail, so I wasn't thinking that way. Let's do it though. First, I'm just going to test with this one, this screw here. I want to test if I loosen this. I want to see how possible it is to move it forward and back, okay? It's pretty well fixed. I can move it back. See, I'm flexing it back. So maybe what I want to do is take a measurement first of what's called the spread. Because I don't know the spec of this piano, what it's supposed to be, but the spread is between the center of this pin and the center of that pin. You see, these are two different rails, and how close together changes the whole geometry of how far the hammer lifts and the gearing of it. So we need to preserve that measurement, and the action was working great, so I'm assuming it's a spec. So I'm going to find out what that spec was, okay? So I'll put you here to look at that. I'm going to retighten this. This didn't move anywhere because all these other screws were keeping this stiff aluminum in place, so I'm not worried that it moved. I'm going to get a machinist ruler, and I'm going to do millimeters for this one. Okay, let's go get a machinist's rule. Here we go. Because machinist's rule, I guess. Okay. That's millimeters. You can't see it. It's out of focus. Sorry for that. That was annoying, I know. Okay. So I'm going to measure this. I have another video where I measure this on a young Chang because there's an issue and it has to be reset. But anyway, this is actually a common measurement for this 112.5. Excuse me just one moment. I'll be right back. Oh, sorry about the sound. This whole time I've been muted. What I was trying to say is I got enough pizza for everybody. I didn't know how big 18 inches was. It's a lot bigger than what I thought. But anyway, this whole time, anyway, I've been measuring a measurement called spread, okay? And I found it to be 113 millimeters on both sides. Okay, and I needed to take note of that because this is such a critical dimension for the geometry of the action to feel the same. It's like changing the gears on a bicycle, okay, if that were different. And so I loosened these screws, but only just enough so that they were still holding it fairly snug. And then you saw me hit it to the right, and I confirmed. Now I'm just confirming that I like that alignment, and it is good. I still might need to move a couple or paper a couple, but it will be a lot less work. So now I need to just confirm that I still have the 113 millimeters on this side. Okay. And we have, let's get down here. Okay, it's a little bit bigger. I need to move the rail over. Need to move it this way. Okay, let's see if I got it now. There, 113. I'm going to go just a tiny bit more to be sure. Make sure I didn't overdo it. 113, right on the money. Now, nobody move. I'm going to tighten that where it is. Don't knock it out of place. Okay, I'm going to watch it very carefully that that dimension doesn't change. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and loosen these middle screws a lot more. Or, you know what I should do? I should just check the measurement first, actually. Let me work smarter. I'm allowed to change my mind once in a while, right? Okay. Just confirm that measurement. This is, again, that's called the action spread. The distance between the center pin of the whipping and the center pin of the hammer shank. Okay. So, what do we have? We have 113, maybe just scant of 113. So I'll hit this way a little bit. Okay. You didn't see it from there, but it moved tiny bit. There. Now I have almost a solid 113. Solid 113. I like it. Okay. I'm going to tighten this screw. And then, just in case these got pinched in the wrong position and they're kind of grabbing still, I'm going to loosen them and retighten. I'm doing this one-handed, so you'll forgive me there if I seem a little bit awkward. Loosen, retighten, just fine. Loosen, retighten. This rail that I'm cinching down is called the whipping rail because all the whippings attached to it. Right, these are the whipping. The whole A-frame unit is the whipping. Okay, so there's really only two major components to a grand action: the whipping and then the hammer shank and the hammer. Okay. All right. So we're good. What did we just do? Oh, we just made it so that we can align the whippings to the hammers better. Righty. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to what I was doing before. And my job should be a little easier this time to move things where I want. And some of these I might go a little bit back the other direction that I papered, but they're going just fine. Because they were quite out of alignment to the one side. You might say, well, did that rail come loose in shipping? No, it was totally tightened down. So someone decided, or either overlooked that or decided, just ship it, you know. We're sending it out anyway. Okay. Very good. Excellent. Fantastic. Boy, this sure beats like papering all of these and having them be tilted in a weird way. I think we did a good job there of finding what the actual root cause was and addressing that rather than just going after the symptoms, okay? All right. This one still needs to go over to the right a lot, but I think it can make it. It can. Yes, I Canada. Okay. There we go. Great. Just going to continue on down the line. Thanks for anyone who's staying up late, burning the candle with me here. Okay, what I'm going to do, what I did on the other section is just tighten all the screws first. And I'm getting about 1/8 of a turn on all of these, which is typical. They do need to be tightened from time to time to keep things solid on the rail. The less wobble you have, even to a micro level, the more efficient and powerful the action will be. Okay, so that one almost got a 1/2 a turn or a 1/4 turn. And when this piano gets to, well, you know, we're in a really dry spot right now, so we should be a good thing when it goes to a more humid climate. I would think this tightening of the screws should stay preserved. The alignment should stay pretty well without having to retighten much, but I could be wrong. Okay. Oftentimes with a new piano, you're just kind of checking that things are where they should be, making a few little tweaks here or there. For the most part, that's all we've had to do. But that rail one was kind of a wholesale thing. All right. Good there. We ordered this piano and it was actually back ordered. I want to say upwards of a year or more before we actually got it. You know, during the time when things were really backlogged. I think they've caught up somewhat, I would hope, in the factories. But boy, supply chain issues, right? We had a lot of them. Okay, those all look good. This is how I would expect this step to go more than what I was doing before. It goes pretty quick. Just tighten the screws and then check the alignment and refine as needed. If I didn't have you along with me, not that you're bothered, but I would just go across the whole set and tighten all the screws, and I get on my little rolly chair here and be all over this action, but I'm doing it by section because it's still in the camera view, and I don't have to move my seating position. It's called rolling the knuckles, okay? Just fixing any alignment issues left or right so that it's square underneath the hammer shank, and it's not going to interfere with any neighbors. That's hugely important, right? You can imagine what a key would feel like if it was slightly rubbing against its neighbor, or even pushing up its neighbor hammer a little bit along with the note that you're trying to play. And so we're aligning for maximum clearance, okay? So that the parts are as far away from each other as possible, and also where they need to be on target. Okay. The pizza is kind of taunting me back here behind me. I can smell it. I can almost taste it. Not that you care, but okay. Okay, I didn't tighten these screws yet. I'm kind of reminding myself because normally I would have done the whole section or the whole piano first. So I gotta tighten these screws. Great, great, great. I should probably, maybe I should get going a little faster here tonight. Let's see. All right, that's aligned good. Scoot this guy over a bit. I'll try and show you what maybe full speed would look like if I wasn't pausing to talk to you. Once you kind of get in the flow. Okay, those are all aligned. Now, while we have the action turned around, we want to align the hammer tails with the back checks here. This is the back check. This is the hammer tail there. It needs to line up so that when we play the note, it catches and it's centered over that for maximum surface area catching, okay? So you can see these are pretty well aligned. This one's off a tiny bit to the left, not crucial, you know, that to that degree. But that's what we're aligning next, you know. Again, maximum clearance, because it is possible for this to be so far over that it could come dangerously close to hitting a neighbor hammer and rub against it. I don't see anything like that yet, but that's the reason why we're making the maximum clearance on these parts. Especially down here, you can have that where you can see it gets pretty close to the neighbor hammer right there, right? So we want to make sure it's not going to get, certainly that it's not rubbing, and maybe space that over a little bit in that one so that there's more clearance, okay? So let me get a tool for that. Or pretend to get a tool for that and really get myself a piece of pizza. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I didn't really get a piece of pizza. Okay. I lost subscribers right then and there. Okay. The tool I want is my trusty dusty wire bending pliers, right? If I crimp it this way, the wire bends that way, turn it over, I can bend it that way. I'm going to try and I'm going to attempt to put the camera at eye level with the back checks so that you can see. Yeah, seriously, as soon as I passed that pizza in front, the number of people watching went down by 1. We didn't need him anyway. Okay, let's see if this is a good view. Not so much. Sorry, I'm just trying to get this just right for you. Just 1 minute. Okay. Prop this up. There. That's what I want. Okay. Let's take a look at this. So I'm just going to put these up into check. Boom. And see if it's aligned. These are like crooked, leaning to the left. Someone was just going really fast and called it good enough. It's not crucial enough that I feel the need to straighten them all at this point. But what I will do is just tweak them over a little bit to line up better with the tail of the hammer. One way or another, depending on what's needed. Now you'll notice there's 2 bends right there, right? So if I bend it over to the left, it's going to be leaning, and I need to make another bend here. Maybe I will straighten these actually, just to show you, like, they don't need to be curved like that. I don't know what they were doing. Maybe someone just getting a little lazy or something. Okay. Maybe because they were down in how many pianos they were supposed to produce. So this got out the door a little faster. Okay. So that one's now straight up, right? And it's aligned with the tail, hammer tail. So I am going to change these on second review. It is kind of annoying how the action keeps rocking back and forth. Let's see if I can fix that. And you can still see what's going on. I'm going to unbend that there, and unbend this again. Look, that's like straight. So why was it bent in the first place? Don't ask me. I honestly can't think of a good reason why it was. All right. So I'm going to get these all straight up and down first, and then I can address things like this one's a little twisted, etc. So, unbend, unbend. Unbend, unbend. I could try and get right where they bent the wire. The wires start straight. When they come out of the package, they're straight. And someone had to put these bends in there. I'm not sure I get it. I'm not sure I get why they're all leaning, why they're bent over. If anyone out there knows, I would love to hear the reason, if there is one. Anyway, I was going to say, I could try and unbend exactly where they did, but that's kind of a difficult target with this tool. So I'm mostly just going to fuss over the actual alignment of it, okay? All right. I'm a little bit annoyed that I'm having to do this, but so be it. Okay. Unbend, unbend, align. Unbend it, move it over, unbend it again, make sure it's aligned. if I bend this wire, this back check front or back on the wire, what that affects is how high it catches the hammer in the piano. And so that is an adjustment we need to look at. And especially since we're changing these, we're going to have to redo that adjustment. We should probably check the chat, see if anyone had a good answer why these were that way. This piano was produced on a Monday. There you go. That's the reason. On a Monday, and they were behind quota. For sure. Plus, being a somewhat obsessive compulsive type, I like it when they're straight up and down. Okay, and I'll just kind of take a step back and overlook the section and see where I still might want to make a change. But it looks pretty good. But now some of them are twisted. You see how this one's twisted? And the hammer tail, if I look down here, let's get these other hammers out of the way, see if we get a better lighting there. The hammer tail is not angled that way. So I want to twist that so that it matches. Again, for this, I want maximum surface area contact to catch that hammer and to not wear like a sharp groove or something in the back check, because it will do that over time too. So let me get my tools that I use to move those. Okay, I will be right back. I got to go to the car and grab a tool maybe. Okay, I found one. This tool is, these are parallel pliers, okay? So that when they're open, they're parallel instead of, obtuse like this, or going out like that. So I can grab this without damaging the corners of the wood piece and twist it. Okay, so let's do that. I'm going to get you in kind of close here. A little close. I'm going to grab that and twist it where I want it. Okay. Makes kind of a popping sound a little bit. And yes, this is the way this is meant to be done. When these are pressed into the keys, and this is a part that we install regularly in the rebuilt pianos, when they're pressed into the keys, they may or may not go in perfectly straight, and so they always need to be, you know, twisted around a little bit. It's meant to be adjusted that way, if you're wondering. Okay. All right. Let's continue looking at this next section. Now this one is off to the, look, when it goes into check here, sorry, I'm trying to get that right. It's off to the right. Okay, can you see that? So if I unbend this and move it over to the right, does that benefit us in every way we want to be benefited? Let's see. More and more. Okay, that's perfectly aligned now. It's hard to tell. It's hard to get the camera eye, you know, right behind it sometimes, but that's really perfectly aligned. And there's more clearance. Like, you know, we're not losing any clearance between this left hammer on the left and here. If anything, we gained a little bit, okay? So I'm going to go and straighten those out. And the goal, the hope in doing this, straightening them out and everything, is that it will go into check better. I don't know that it was deficient necessarily in this case, but theoretically, if it catches more square with the back check and more surface area, it should check better, right? And it'll wear the back check surface more evenly, which will mean it'll have more surface area contact through its life as a part. The life cycle of a piano part. Okay. I'm going to keep going. So you can see these are starting to get right straight up and down. I'm fixing these that are curved. So interesting why they bent these over. Maybe they were under the impression that it would provide more clearance coming from that angle, but I can't see how that would be the case or why they would have thought that. By the way, I titled this episode, you know, is a Yamaha ready to go right out of the box, you know, and I just did that because a lot of people say that, you know, especially if they're selling Yamahas and they don't want to pay for prep work. That may be unfair to say, but I didn't go through this piano and say, aha, there's going to be issues we need to fix, so I'm going to title this and it's going to demo this and I'm going to make a big point. It was nothing like that. It's just something I hear commonly, and you know, we hadn't looked at this piano yet at all. And I just thought, oh, let's see what's in here. And it's mostly in just kind of a reaction to people who get upset or make troll-like comments when they see a technician change a new piano in any way, because they think it's doing more harm than good. Which, you know, if you had an unqualified technician who didn't know what they were doing, that could be the case, but I believe the goal is to make it better for everyone. Okay. Move this over. Right. How's everything looking and sounding? I mean, is everyone okay out there? You know, I've taken some long breaks on this. I switched the stream around. Apologize for that. But I got to just, you know, if I'm going to get the information out, it's kind of got to be at my pace, on my terms a little bit, because, you know, no one's paying me to do this, really. Right. So sometimes it's a lot of back and forth. We got it. We got it. So if you're joining and you're like, what's he doing? This is not aligned with the hammer tail up here is not aligned with the back check. It's off to our right. And look, the clearance here between this back check and this neighbor hammer in this case is really tight. We don't want that. We don't want any chance that that's going to rub and give us trouble playing the piano. So I'm just aligning these back checks squarely underneath the tails. I didn't have to move these hammers a lot. We moved a handful. Oh, maybe 2 or 3 at most in a section. Now, if it happened that when the back check was in line with the tail, it was too close to the neighbor hammer, then yes, I would cheat it over. But these back checks are cheated the wrong direction towards the neighbor hammer instead of away from it. So that's why I was scratching my head a little bit why it was aligned that way. Well, I really wish I could play some music, but then it violates copyright things. Okay. So let's see if there's any comments, questions in the chat. Fine tuning is a good thing. Jeffrey Boyle. Hein got some sleep. He's ready to get going to work. Thanks for joining. All right, let's see. So one question, one possibility, someone said if you bend the wires, that makes them shorter. So maybe they adjusted the height by bending. And that is a thing, but usually the height should be dictated by the design and how deeply these are pressed into the wood. And you want that to be uniform, and it should be like built into the original design from the get-go. So I was wondering that, and usually going shorter is not a benefit unless it was dragging or something, you know. And these look just right where they should be to my knowledge when it's straight. But that's, I thought of that too. That's a good, it's a good good reasoning. But you wouldn't want to sacrifice the longevity of the part for that if you absolutely didn't have to. And I don't think they needed to. So Right on. You know, I may not be finishing this piano tonight, which is just fine. Like that tomorrow as well. But it is fun to sometimes catch people in different parts of the world who might be available at different times too, but you might not otherwise get to see something live. All right, I'm going to carry on aligning these. Yeah. Knowing how particular and consistent Yamaha design is, as I'm thinking through things, it seems really unplausible that they would rely on a bend adjustment to lower the height of the back check. And I don't see it dragging either. There's no issue. That would be the only issue of the height being too high, is if on a hard blow with the key, things kind of flex and bend and compress if the tail rubbed against the back check on the way up. That's the only problem you have with back checks as far as if they were too high. And in that case, you can change that by bending it back, forward or aft, and changing the angle as needed. The forward or aft angle. These are all straight up and down. Maybe they just had a pizza waiting for them. And they're like, I want that pizza. Okay. Oh, wait, that's me. Okay. Alrighty. Those look good. Just about done. These upper sections require, what am I trying to say? They're going faster than the lower ones, which I'm all for. The other possibility is that in their factory process, I'm just guessing because, I mean, why not, right? What else are we going to do while we're aligning back checks? Let's just guess. In their factory process, they may put the hammers on the rail and everything on the action before it's put in the piano ever and aligned with the strings. And they may have a way to kind of pre-align it that works well most of the time. Or, you know, and so the back checks would have been aligned to where those hammer tails were. But as I'm saying it, the hammer tails wouldn't have been curved. Or they could have, actually they would have been curved that direction, because they do lean the hammers in those sections over a little bit for clearance. They'll lean them. And so maybe they were just kind of roughing it in. And for some reason, after this piano got aligned with the strings, they didn't go beyond that. They were just trusting in their pre-process, maybe. I don't know. I would love to find out. It's not that important, but something to talk about anyway in the wee hours of piano adjusting. Okay. Alrighty then. Got those aligned. I'm going to twist them. I'll twist them to be straight with the hammer tail angle. Just to give you an idea what it looks like when I'm doing here from the top. Look at this line that's formed here. I've kind of twisted those a little bit. This one maybe could be tweaked a little bit differently, but then when you get over here, look where I haven't gone. See how that's turned? It's rotated this way. Same with that one. That's what I'm fixing or refining a little bit. Okay. I think I saw one on camera that I wanted to fix when I put that closer. Sometimes you have to pick your battles. There's a lot of parts on a piano, but I have the benefit of being relaxed on this one and able to take the time necessary to get it just awesome. Plus, these aren't cheap pianos. These are good pianos, and they cost a lot. Okay, I'm continuing to twist these back checks to be straight, just for the benefit of those who are just joining. We've been talking about why maybe some of these things would be out of adjustment when it lands. And, you know, it's kind of just guessing from this point. We don't really know. Okay. There we go. Do 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 do. Dee 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 dee. Well, now why did I put that one there? I'm going to scoot this one over a little bit more to give a little more clearance there. There. That's better. It's more better. Okay. All right. Back checks are aligned. So that's what I kind of do. My process is, alignment of parts is one of the very first things that needs to happen before you can make adjustments to the action. Make sure they're sitting where they need to be, hit the strings where they need to hit. So we tightened the screws on the hammers, all of these hammer flanges. Then we made sure that the hammers were spaced for maximum clearance and even look at rest, and that they hit the string in the proper place when they went up. Okay, and so then we had where the hammer needs to be. So then we aligned the whip into that. So it's like you align. In a Steinway class, they called it aligning from the top down. I like that principle. From the string down to the hammer, down to the whipping, then the back check. And that's all we have to align. And we tighten the screws on all the whippings in the process. So everything's snug, secured, aligned the way it should be for a stable regulation and function. So let's see. Jeffrey Boyle says, when a new piano is delivered, it still needs to be tuned. Yes, it does need to be tuned. It's true. I know, huh? Okay, so right. So what I'm thinking now, so we align from the top down. Now we're going to start doing a couple other things that make sure that the solid framework for the action is in place. I think I might have another hour in me tonight, but I'll have to change the stream probably for battery again to another one. And many of you might cut out just at that thought that I'm going to be doing this a whole nother hour, but let's see. Okay. All right. I'm just going to grab a quick something here to the side, and it's not, it is pizza. I'm not going to lie. Okay. I'm going to flip this action back around. We're done with the back of it. Okay, now we're going to make sure that, oh, this is always tricky. I need to put chalks under this. These roll a little bit too well. Let me get some chalks. Okay. Couple more. Alrighty. Alright, so wedge that under the caster. Let's see if that holds it at all. Yeah, that holds it in place. That's much better. Thank goodness. Okay. Okay. Anyway, okay, we want to set, what we want to do is called bedding the keyframe, or check it anyway. These glide studs go through this rail here, wood rail, and they push this middle up a little bit so that from front to back, the action frame's actually not straight, it's actually like this, okay? And then those supports go down the middle and push up and support that middle so that the key can rock, okay? And so we want to make sure that all these studs are making contact with the wood below. I'll go ahead and show you what they look like. I've done it in other videos, but that doesn't mean anything to you right now, right? So let me pull this out and show you. All right, so this is what I'm talking about. Here's the adjustment part of the stud that goes through. Here's the other stud. Just kidding. Okay, let me show you this. Okay, then, yeah, I know that was bad. Okay, I'm gonna lift this up. Okay, here's where they come through. Okay. And these squiggly lines, a kid did not get in here and draw that, okay? There wasn't a little kid in here messing with this piano. That is the leading pattern, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, there's leads that correspond with those lines. That's the leading pattern they determined for the initial leading. Interesting, huh? Okay, so So they just marked it so they know where to drill those holes for those leads. Okay, so these brass things are what are poking through, and there's, on this piano, there's two hidden ones. I'm just gonna first put it in and see if I get like a knock, which would mean this was floating above this surface down here. Or if it's floating and there's lots of flex in this, that means it's not making contact and it's really high. Or if it's too low and it's putting too much pressure here. We'll check all that. And this provides a firm foundation for power in the action and efficiency and expression. Okay. Okay, this one's knocking. Let's listen really carefully. That means that that one's just floating just above the wood, which we don't want. I think everything else is making contact, which makes sense. That's a common thing to see after it's been bedded and then it's been moved and set up, or just with time I'll see that, you know, one of these is maybe floating over here. So I'm going to take this tool, I'm going to turn that screw down just a little bit. There, now listen to it. I realize my heater just turned on, sorry about that, but listen here if you can. No knock, okay? Now I'm going to double check that this is bedded. I'm going to take this tool, I'm going to put it on here, and I'm going to kind of pry against this wood block here and push down on the tool and see if the keys flex down at all. Nope, they're solid, okay? It's really obvious when I do this, it'll feel spongy. And these feel totally solid. Got it? Let's try this one that we just adjusted. Of course I know it's not going to because I just adjusted it. So not much to do here with key bedding. That's really pretty much there. Which I expected because the keyboard felt really good. You can also, I learned this from someone in a Steinway class, that you can kind of, if it's not bedded and this is really spongy here, you can kind of just rest your hands on the keys here and do this, and you'll feel quite a lot of wobble. But when it's bedded, it'll feel more firm. So that's the balance rail. Let's check the front rail, okay? This is the front rail. We want it to make continuous contact because look, that's where the key hits and impacts. Now I think in my initial evaluation of this piano, earlier on today, we were looking at this and this knocked. Right? So it's not making complete contact right here. There's a little gap. Okay, that's not a defect in manufacturing or anything. It's just what wood does to some degree. But what's really nice is that it's only knocking and lifting on the end. And they did that on purpose, okay, in prepping the piano, so that all you have to do is take this screw. This is where this hole here corresponds with this pin to locate the action front to back. And this screw on the top, you can see, if we lower it, it'll put more downward pressure through this plate on this pin, and it'll push this action down. I'll simulate that with my finger to where it won't knock. So just simulating with my finger, like I said. I'm going to try and get you a view of this. Sorry, okay. Now I'm going to hold it down. No knock. Solid. No knock. Now with these, also if these are floating a little bit, this little thing will vibrate and it'll buzz. And it was doing that. I just didn't make a big deal out of it when I heard it because I knew what was going on. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this screw down a little bit. And since it was buzzing, that tells me it's really close to being right, which makes sense. It was probably right when they sent it out. And just with temperature and environment changes, it's changed just a little bit. So I'm going to turn that screw down a little bit. I've got to put the key slip on with this to see if it's going to work after that. Okay? Let's see here. Find my tool. This adjustment requires a number 1 Phillips, or you can do a flathead, looks like too, but I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. Even just like, it wasn't actually turning, I had to do it harder. Even just like 2 rotations there, okay? Now, you might be tempted to say, all right, I'll just stick this block in and hold it down and the knock's gone. But the problem is we have another piece that goes under here that may or may not be lifting up this block a little bit. So we're going to test that, all right? Okay, the key slip is in place. The cheek block is in place. I'm going to screw that down to be a good test. I can also just hold it with my hand if I'm good, and then I can kind of go like this and see if it's knocking, but let's test it for real. Just to be absolutely sure on this one. Sorry, I'm trying to reach around the camera and do this. Let me try and do this another way. Okay. Now let's see if it's knocking. And the way to check this, you need to gently push the key down somewhere near the end here. And just hold it there. Then tap. Don't push it down too hard or it won't be a true test. No knock. Now you would think that you'd be able to get some kind of like a screwdriver in through here and adjust it in the piano, but you really can't. You could if that key was out, and you know, who knows, maybe they do that in the factory, but. Okay, so that side's not knocking. Let's just check the middle. Make sure there's not so much pressure on the side that then it's making the middle pop up. Like that. So that can happen if it's like this and I push this down a lot, it can make the middle bow up. And now I have a knock here. So who cares? It matters actually. So I'm going to take some of the pressure, just a little bit of pressure off of this block, okay? I'm going to take out the screw. Okay, the screw is out. We're going to unscrew this just a bit. Maybe just one turn, since I think I went like 2 turns to change it. 1 turn, rotation out. Let's see if it's still enough to stop the knock, but not so much that it makes the middle knock. That's the goal. And you can see, yeah, this is a touchy adjustment. You have to kind of revisit this anytime you service a piano. Just make sure, this is called bedding the keyframe. Got to make sure the keyframe's bedded well. Okay. All right, there's that. No knock. Let's check the middle. Aha, look. You doubted that it would work, but look. Whoops. Sorry about that, camera. Okay. You doubted that would work, but it did. Let me show you. All right, here we go. Okay. And this side didn't knock at all at rest, and it's still that way, so it's just fine. But I do want to check. I don't want this to buzz, right? So let's check that. Because even though it's at rest on its own, it's down making contact with the key bed. That might be floating still. So let's see. And I always back thread these screws. There are so many nice things about the construction of this piano that make it just work out really well. A lot of just touches that other pianos will have issues and these don't, and I love it. That's why I say I'm a fan. But okay, I want to this one I'm going to knock. I know it's not going to knock, but that little plastic plate in that guide block might buzz if there's not the correct pressure, downward pressure on it. So let's see if we hear a buzz. Whoops. I do. Do you hear that? It sounds like a little spring or something. Now this one, I may be able to get a tool in with the action in place without any problem. Nope. Okay. So I'm going to undo that. So the problem is it's vibrating because there's not enough downward pressure, okay? So let's adjust that. And that buzz, believe it or not, when you're playing, can show up and be kind of annoying, you know? And I will say that for my nephew who's going to be playing this piano, you know, I'm adjusting this now and fixing it, but it could, you know, after a short amount of time going to a different climate, it might need to be adjusted again. Like this could be buzzing again, or that could be knocking. But usually after you visit it a few times throughout the year, different seasons, then it quiets down and it's more stable there. I'm just turning that down a little bit to see if it's enough. I'm going to screw this down with the screw under the cheek block here. By the way, I'm flattered that you would join the stream. I'm assuming everybody on the stream's not related to me, but that could be and that's the only reason they're watching, but okay, no buzz. But as with the other one, I want to check the middle of the keyboard, make sure that downward pressure didn't cause the middle to rise. It did. Okay, and I'm getting a knock all the way down through the middle from just that, okay? Very touchy adjustment, very touchy. There are some things I don't like about the design, like for instance, the fact that there is that little plastic plate that can vibrate if it's not just perfect, but maybe that's supposed to be like an alarm for the technician to say, oh, this needs attention. I don't know. So basically I just it's pushing the action down too far. It's pushing down on that pin just a little with a little too much pressure. So we're going to loosen this. One rotation of the hand. Let's see if we got it. And I'm gonna kind of simulate. I'm gonna really cinch it down, simulating someone who doesn't know it's touchy and doesn't care. And I'm just really listening. See if that thing's vibrating. think it is, but if it is, then this knock should have gone away. And it's still there. So I don't know. I'm going to loosen it. I'm going to take it up just a little bit. That's what this is. This is a technician. This is a key bedding alarm. That's what it is. And so when it's off, it buzzes and tells you. Okay. I'm just going to loosen this out another bit. First of all, I want to see if this knock's there without tightening it. And this is down, this is up here, okay? You hear that buzzing though. But this is not knocking at least. But let's see when we tighten the screw, hopefully that buzzing goes away. Or at least goes away enough to where it's not going to be a problem. Because this is kind of really threading the needle, I'm noticing on this one. All right. Okay, we're going to make a change here because I can't get it right. I need to remove some wood off of this length underneath on the rail. Because it's not shaped quite right to get rid of that noise and have the right amount of pressure. So I'll show you. Some people do very light sanding under there. But I've just not had much luck with sandpaper getting it the way I want. So I'll show you what I'm going to do. Now this aspect is one thing that Steinway, I think, has a real good thing going. Because they shape their key bed like a frown, this big part that the action rests on, and then the key frame is shaped like a smile. So then you clamp, and then you intentionally clamp the ends down, so it makes sprung contact, and it really makes it so that I never really have to do anything to this front rail on a Steinway. But you know, there's trade-offs, right? Different things. Different pianos have different pros and cons. Okay. So here, it's making contact right here, but what I notice is as soon as I push this down, it's knocking right here. All the way up to right about here. So I need to remove some material off the bottom of this rail so that it can all be riding up so that when it's pushed down, it won't shove this up. That's a little bit to wrap your head around, but that's what's going on here, okay? Okay. Now, certain things that other people might think are just way too harsh or drastic, other people can execute with finesse and skill and make work. This is one of those things. This is a pocket plane, okay? Just going to take a very light shaving off of here. Okay, just a little bit of wood. Now I can sand that smooth again. Let me go get a piece of sandpaper. So the wood chattered on me a little bit, which can happen with that, but I'll just re-smooth it here. Okay, now I'm going to stick this in and see where we're at, okay? Push it in. I kind of want a knock right here, actually, in this area. So right here, it's still springing and making the middle knock over there. Right up until about where it says C7 here. So I'm going to do that again with the plane. And from about here up. Okay, let's see where we're at now. There, now this is floating. So now there's a little zone here that needs work. I'm going to make my plane less aggressive just a bit, just so it's kind of kissing it. Okay, let's see if that'll do it here. All right, let's see what we got. So if I put pressure down here on the pin, let's see what, can you see that? Kind of, right? Yeah, okay, put pressure on the pin. No knock, knock. I need to just go a little further with it here. And I'm taking off, hardly anything here. There. That audible knock is actually good because then I can get rid of it by putting pressure here. There, I can put an appropriate amount of pressure here and eliminate the knock without introducing a knock here. That's what we want, right? So let's get our key slip again. Wood warps a little bit, right? If you didn't know. And you have to kind of anticipate it in wood construction. And that's kind of what they've done here by developing a process to bed it. Oh, this is too high. I need to lower that screw a little bit because it was buzzing still, right? So this screw that puts pressure on it, I'm going to turn it down 1 and a bit. I'm going to kind of test this. It's still buzzing. So I'm assuming it's not putting pressure on there yet. Let's see here. I'm going to turn it down another 1. Turn. Sorry, that's a bad view. Turn it down another 1 turn. Put it in here. Yeah, let's see what happens when we use the screw. Can we get this right? Let's see. Okay. I need to screw down the other side because I'm hearing a buzz from it. But currently we have no knock here. And no knock on the end. And this is not what's buzzing. It's this other one because we didn't screw it down again. So we'll screw that down. And I think we're almost there with bedding this front rail. And keep in mind, when I'm talking to you and I'm doing this, we're probably going about 3 times slower than what someone could do if they were just getting to the task. No knock. A knock. Okay, that's too much pressure here. But let's check up here. This up here is pretty good, almost. The middle's bowing. Let's reduce pressure a little bit on the base. And I mean, bear in mind, these are tiny, tiny adjustments we're making. Okay, I'm just gonna raise that screw just a tiny bit. Okay, cinch that down. I think I need to go up a little more on this side. Okay, turn that up just a little more. All right. There we are. Okay. There. No loud knock from the wood floating. It's making positive pressure everywhere, finally. Now this has a little more power, I think, in the top, now that it's bedded right, than when I first did it. This still is a little bit swallowed. But it's not from not being bedded. So now we know when we go to voice it, we're not trying to overcome something that foundationally isn't right. These are just a little weaker. We can deal with that. You know, I'm checking something else. I want to check the bedding on the balance rail again, because if these are too firm down, putting too much downward pressure, it can raise things up, and sometimes they'll do that to compensate for not having adjusted the key height right. So because when you lower those, it raises the middle and the keys raise up. Okay, so I'm going to run these down till they're knocking. It could be that this could be bedded a little more firmly, and it would be a benefit to the feel of the action. Okay, so because sometimes the other thing is when these are lowered way too much, it'll raise things so much that it's actually trying to lift that front rail and working against the bedding of it. Okay. And I'm looking for, oops. Okay, so what I'm doing now, by raising this, here, watch, now I've raised that, so now when I push down on that bolt back there, the keys wiggle. That means it's not making positive contact right there. Let's check here on this one. That one is making positive contact. We'll raise it a little bit. Do it with my right hand here. That'll be better. There, now that's wiggling. It's hard to see because I keep wiggling the camera, but it is. The whole thing's flexing down, okay? But in order to do this properly, I need to unscrew these cheek blocks. So I'm just finding out that this piano may have been bedded down too firmly at the balance rail, which is this middle rail, which means a lot more work for me, because then if I change that, it'll change how far the keys go down. So they're going to be going down a lot more shallow. It won't feel as good. I have to restore that feeling by removing spacers under each key and measuring it, making it sure that's consistent. So it's a lot more work, but that's okay. My nephew is worth it. This is going to be his piano. So righty. Now, the reason I had to take those out is because there's some hidden studs that I need to adjust. All right. Okay, we're going to lift this up. And then here's these hidden studs are right here. I'm going to turn them this way so that they go up higher and they're kind of just out of the picture, okay? If I can. Oh, those are tight. Let me try just that much and see if it's enough to get these out of the picture. That's tight, like it's never been adjusted, but we'll see. Okay. So now those are high off the key bed. They're not going to be knocking. All right. Now, let's see if this is still floating. It's not. There, now it is. Knock. When I get a knock, that means it's floating off the key bed. This is the key bed, this thick wood under here. But close enough that it's almost touching. Okay, that just helps me know where they are when I can't see them. And as I'm lowering these, I can see the key height dropping. It's just dropping like a good, good amount. Which means, that's what I was telling you, I got a lot more work done for me. It kind of, I don't know why. I've seen other Yamahas that were this way, but they were older, so I assumed, oh, someone's just done that over the course of time, like a technician or something. I don't know if it's in their process that causes them to bed it this way, or it's supposed to be bedded more firmly for some reason. But I don't think so. It's kind of a shortcut way to achieve a certain touch that you can change wholesale, but it shouldn't be made to compensate for the regulation. This should be adjusted so that you can play around with that a little bit without having to run those down so much. boy, because those were lifting that so much, they were lifting this even more. And that's what made this so finicky. Now, it doesn't undo what we did, you know, but it just means this will be more firm now. Firm of a foundation. That's a good thing. Okay, so I'm just checking. I'm seeing the keys wiggle down, making sure they're not touching. Okay, and I think those hidden ones are high enough that they're totally out of the picture right now, which is what we want. Okay, now look, there's like no knock on the front, well, a little bit, but it's a tiny bit. And remember there was a big knock on the base? No knock, but watch the action now. Look at all those bobbing hammers. We decreased the key dip, or the amount of key travel, that much. So they created their key travel by just running those glides down. And that's a little bit disappointing, because it's just kind of postponing and making more work for somebody else down the road. But we'll fix it. So it's still an awesome piano. Don't get me wrong. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is bed these the appropriate amount. Okay. So I'm going to get my tool in here, and I'm going to run this till it touches, and I should be able to grab this and pull up, you know, or maybe even here and pull up and hear a knock as I lift it just a little bit. If it's run down too tight, I can't get it to lift and get a knock. So that's one way to test that you have the appropriate amount of pressure, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and just do my thing and set those where we need to set them. I hear it knock. I know it's really close. I just turn it down a little bit more as I'm knocking, and the knock goes away. There's a knock. Turn it down a little bit. The knock's almost gone. A little bit more. It's firm. This one might have been too firm. It's so easy to just kind of go like this and not realize that you're running it down more and more. This takes a little bit of practice, but just so you learn that if you hear a knock, then that bolt is just above the wood and it can knock easily. If you don't hear a knock, it's either pressing against it, in which case you should be able to lift it up and then knock and hear a knock, or it's so high that it's just not hitting the bottom. And that you can check by just putting pressure down on these bolts and seeing the keys wiggle in the front. Then you know, oh, it's way high. You lower it a little bit till you hear a knock. You get them all knocking, and then you're really close to being able to set it where you need to. Okay, so I got all these. This piano sounds like it has a lot more guts now because it's firm. Now, we still have regulating to do, of course, a lot, most of which is going to have to do with how far these keys travel down. So I need to adjust the hidden glides, though, that we didn't adjust. I can hear one knocking, so I know that one's really close. So I'm going to go ahead and set him. So I'm going to get my pliers and just turn it out just a tiny bit. Let's see if that was right. Now, if I went too far, it will make the side ones around it knock, because then it lifted the whole rail a little higher and now those are floating. It didn't. But I do get some noise when I hit the middle because these keyframes are really flexible. So I do need to bed it a little more firmly there. But not much. I was hearing like a low rumbling vibration over here when I knock in the middle, which tells me I just need that. And then when I put pressure down, it tells me it's just kind of bouncing a little much. I think that's pretty good. Okay, now I need to do the other hidden glide, which is under the bass area. And I didn't hear him knocking at all, so I'm going to give him a bigger turn and just see what we get. All these are knocking. That means I turned it down too far and it raised the whole thing. All right. So you can see how touchy this is. Not all pianos keyframes are this touchy. My understanding is, if it's the same still, the Yamaha keyframe is more flexible than some others. So it can be bedded a little bit differently. Okay, I need to turn that in a little more still. So it could be that we went right to where it needed to be and just didn't know it because we couldn't get any information until I changed it. Okay. This is not knocking on the end. But now this is, I'm just going to go a little more firm here. I need to do this hidden one just a little more. This is just the nature of this adjustment. A lot of back and forth. I don't like these hidden ones because they make it longer and harder to adjust, but they determined they needed those, I think, because of the flexibility of the keyframe. Okay, a little bit of a knock on the very end. Okay. All right, now the front, I'm hearing just some rumbling a little bit. It's probably because these are just not bedded down quite firmly enough. So I'm going to turn everything down just a little bit. I'll start in the middle. Just one little, like, 2.5 minute turn on the clock, 5 minute turn on the clock with the adjustment. Okay, I need to do the hidden glides. Threw you on the floor there, didn't I? Need to do the hidden glides. A little bit. Those are hard to turn just a little bit. They're kind of jumpy. Okay, I need to turn this one down a little bit now. Okay, now I think I'm happy with where it is. These aren't knocking at all on the front rail now. It's a non-issue. What do you know? All right, let's get the key slip. We'll get the key slip on there. And then tighten down the cheek blocks. This adjustment does a lot for the feel and sound of the piano. A lot of good things when it's right. It can make a piano that's underpowered all of a sudden come to life, or sections of it, and you're like, whoa, what happened to that? And it's just from the bedding. So that's why we're taking the time to get it right. Okay, I'm going to cinch this down tight. As I suspected, no knock there. Do the bass end. No knock, no buzz from the guide plate. Tighten that down tight. Now I can feel when I knock. Those are tied, the keys, I can tell that the frame is bedded. It's tied into the whole structure. The vibrations here affect the whole thing, okay? Now I'm knocking and I'm lifting up on these to see if the pressure's even across, whether or not I need more pressure. Okay, it's pretty even, and I think we're fine. Now that is a good foundation. I'm going to call it a night there, because tomorrow now I'm going to need to start regulating, okay? And we're going to regulate. So right now there's way too little key travel, so all the hammers are bobbing like crazy because we lowered the key height by bedding the key frame better. And that's not like, oh, you just ruined it. No, it's supposed to be that way, and then you're supposed to have the key travel adjusted accordingly. So I want to take a fresh hit on it tomorrow first thing. I'll stream it, just like I'm doing now. And you'll start to see things kind of really fall together as we go. Once I get the key height and the key travel where it should be, everything else will fall into place pretty quickly from this point, would be my guess. So, a lot of work on the foundation. Thanks for watching, and hope you have a good time as you leave from here, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks.